Hey, welcome to another video on PHP 2 for our e-commerce app. In this video, we're going to create this view, which is the show Cart PHP file. And so we're going to take our existing cart object and translate it into a form that people can edit or view. Now let's take a look at the wireframe that I designed here at wireframe.cc. So we're going to have the navbar across the top and then create a table which will show every item that's in our cart. So let's think of some of the objects that we're going to be needing access to. So you can see at the top here I have user Tim Smith. So we're going to have to import the user business service or the person business service, depending on what you named it. We're going to have lots of products on the screen with their description and price. So we're going to need the product business service. Obviously we're going to need the session value for the cart. And then of course we're going to have to format it with some kind of a CSS file. So there's lots of things that support the form that we're going to create. So let's switch back into the files that we were working on in the last video. The very last step here on line 30 was that after we add an item to the cart, we want to redirect the browser to this file called views show cart PHP. And so that's the file that I just showed in the design. So let's go over to the views folder and let's create a new file and we'll call it show cart PHP. The first thing we need to do is require the autoloader so we can get all the access to our classes. If you look at the design here, the first thing I want to do on my view, and every view, is add the navbar. So the navbar is found in my header folder, so I'll require that. We're going to be pulling product information into this view, so we're going to need a business service for products. I'm also going to need the user ID and name, so I'm going to have to be pulling in the business service. Next, I'm going to need the contents of the cart. So I'm going to check to see if the session variable of cart was set. If it is, we'll set it to the variable C, and if not, then we'll echo out a message that says there's nothing in your cart. The first part of my design here is the title, where it's going to say view cart and username. The next thing I want to do is grab the username, so that should be in a session variable called user ID. If it is not set, then I'll send a message to the browser that says you're not logged in yet, and then we can't show the cart, of course. Next, I want to check to see if this cart actually belongs to the user who is logged in. And so I'll create a temporary cart value so I can get all the properties, and this will be deleted later. But then I'm going to say if the cart user ID is not equal to the user ID that's in the session variable, then I'll tell them that it appears this cart doesn't belong to you, and so please log in again. So I'm going to also switch from a negative not user ID to a not equals. So hopefully this code never has to be used. It's just to double check to make sure we got the right cart. Okay, now I want to get the process of printing the view cart message and then tell me the user's first name. So I'm going to go into the user variable here, and let's get it from the user business service. We'll find the user by the first name. So once more I'm going to create a temporary user object using a new person object, and that will allow me the Eclipse will show all the properties and methods. So the method I'm looking for is called user get first name. Okay, so there we got the show the welcome message, and we'll get the user's first name on the screen. Okay, now it's time to start echoing out the table. So first of all, we need the open table HTML tag, and then the header, and then the close header. So now I'm going to type in the headers for each item. So the product ID, the name, the description, the photo, quantity, price each, and subtotal. And then finally we'll close the table header with a /th. Okay, so now we're going to print out each row in our table. So first of all, let's set up a for each loop, a for loop, and we'll use the cart as our items that the array we're going through. We're going to get every item in our cart, and remember that the array is an associative array. So there's a product ID arrow quantity. That's the relationship that we're defining here. Then we'll take the product business service, and we'll get one of the lines from our database. So we'll find the product ID, and we'll put it into a variable called product. Then we can start the table row and then end the table row. In between those, we're going to create each column in our table. So the first column header, or the first column, is the product ID. So we're going to use the product object arrow get ID, and then close it with another /td. So we'll do the same for the next column, which is the name of the product. So we'll do a product arrow get name. Looks like the same thing will happen for the product description. So product arrow get description. Now I'm going to follow the same pattern that we've been doing for the first 3 rows for photo. So we don't really care what the file name is. We don't want to show that to the user. What we really need is a way to show the image, and we'll have to come back here and modify the HTML code so that the image shows instead of the file name. Okay, up until now we've been getting things from our product. So the product name, ID, description, photo. The next column is different though, it's the quantity. And so our quantity is found in the shopping cart. And so we're going to echo out the quantity value. So you can see that the quantity value is the second item in the ordered pair of our array. The next row is showing the subtotal. And so we could either get this from our cart, I think we saved it in the cart object, or we can just recalculate it here times the quantity times the price. Then finally we can terminate the row here, or terminate the TR, and that should end this item in the row. Alright, then we're going to have to put buttons at the bottom, but I think it's about time that we test this out and see if it looks like we're expecting it to. So I'm going to save this and go to the browser. Alright, so let's go and run the show Cart PHP command and take a look at what it looks like in the browser. You can see that I have an error. It says call to a member function, get first name on an array. So line 34. Let's take a look at line 34. So line 34 was to get the first name of a user. So the user, I was expecting it to come back as an object, but my error says that this is an array. So I think I need to modify my user data service and fix the problem. So I scroll down and I find the find by ID in my user data service, and let's take a look at the end. Sure enough, it is returning an array. So I want to fix that so it doesn't return an array. Instead, it returns a user object. Now we did this conversion in another product, I think it was, product ID. And so what I'm doing in this conversion is I am going to create a person object, a new person object, and then I am going to take the array and convert it into that object. So the array has item 0, which is the only item in the array, and then I'm going to take the properties in the database, ID, first name, last name, username, role, and password, and send them all into the person object, return the object that I created called P. So that returns an object rather than an array. Let's come back into our browser and try it again. Okay, so it looks like I have a cart that's working. I've got the name of the person, the product ID, the description, all the way through. Now the formatting's horrible, but it looks like it's creating the data like it's supposed to. So let's stop here. We'll do the formatting on the data and add some buttons at the bottom on the next video.